I invite you to stand for the national anthem. Thank you. Please remain standing as we call on for prayers Mr. Kentus Eugene. He's the Chief ICT Officer acting in the Division of Public Sector Modernization. And I like to call him our resident pastor as well.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Those Catholics and persons who signed themselves, please sign yourself. All right. We are praying. Mighty God, we are very grateful for this wonderful opportunity you have provided us. We are grateful that you brought us here safely. We pray, dear God, those who are on their way, that you give them the traveling mercy, that they also will reach here safely. Dear Lord, with grateful heart, we come to you for this grand launch of the National Authentication Framework. Dear God, we thank you for the wisdom, for the collaboration and the dedication that brought this initiative from vision to reality today. Dear God, we ask that you would bless this endeavor. We also pray, dear God, that you would use this platform as a renewed commitment for service, for accountability, and for national development, dear God. We pray that and we dedicate the whole proceeding into your hands, and we pray that everything would go according to your will, and we'll have a wonderful sitting today. We pray in your mighty name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. Please have your seat. So before we start, I will introduce myself because I have a tendency not to tell persons who I am. So I am Glenn Simon. I am the Communications Specialist with the National Competitiveness and Productivity Council, and I'll be your Master of Ceremonies for the day. So allow me to establish the protocol for today. We have Honorable Stephenson King, Senior Minister and Minister for the Public Service, Transport, Information, and Utilities Regulation. We have Minister in the Ministry of Tourism, Commerce, Investment, Culture, Industry, and Cultural Heritage, Honorable John Paul Estefan. Mr. Auguste Degazon is Cabinet Secretary, Office of the Prime Minister. Ms. Janet Barnard, PS, Ministry of the Public Service, Home Affairs, Labor, and Gender Relations. We have other PSs in the room. Welcome. Deputy Permanent Secretaries and Heads of Departments, welcome. Mr. Marlon Nassis, playing a key role today, is the Director, Division of Public Sector Modernization. Mr. Cleveland Thomas, he'll be participating in our panel, and he's ITU Area Representative for the Caribbean. Mr. Devendra Ramnarayan, and he is the Digital Transformation Advisor and Independent Consultant. Allow me to welcome staff as well of the Department of Finance, of the Public Service, of the Ministry of Health, of the Ministry of External Affairs, of the Ministry of Youth Development and Sports, the Attorney General's Chambers, the Electoral Department, Economic Development, Civil Status Registry, Registry of Companies and Intellectual Property, Sustainable Development. We also welcome key stakeholders from the National Insurance Corporation, the Financial Services Regulatory Authority, Taiwan International Cooperation and Development Fund, the Bankers Association, the Royal St. Lucia Police Force. Our students are not here yet, but we'll thank our performers who will be performing for us, the students from the CCSS, and also we have a special performance from Ezra, the Fun Machine. members of the media, particularly NTN and Choice TV, for being here, and other members of the press, specially invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. So I hope I covered everybody, and if I didn't, I will also fill you in throughout the day as to who's present. So we have welcome remarks, and let us call on Mr. Auguste Degazon, he's the Cabinet Secretary in the Office of the Prime Minister, to welcome us. Round of applause to him, please.
Senior Minister, Honorable Stevenson King, and Minister in the Public Service, Honorable John Paul Estefan, Minister in the Ministry of Commerce and Tourism, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Public Service, Ms. Janet Barnard, other Permanent Secretaries, distinguished guests. We have representatives from the Taiwanese Embassy, development partners, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. There are moments in the life of public service when we do more than simply attain a milestone or launch a new system. Moments when we establish a new standard, a new expectation for our people, a true paradigm shift in public service delivery. Today is one of those moments. Our presence here is a testament to our collective resolve to further institutionalize trust in the public services of the government of St. Lucia. The launch of the National Authentication Framework, or NAF, serves as its foundation. As Cabinet Secretary, I'm honored to be part of this momentous occasion and to continue lending my support to the Ministry of the Public Service, and more specifically, the Division of Public Sector Modernization, for their hard work and dedication in championing the government's digital transformation agenda. The National Authentication Framework represents exactly that kind of disciplined transformation. The NAF is government's centralized identity management system. Embedded within the DigiGov portal, it provides a secure, standardized, and reliable method for verifying the identity of individuals accessing government services, whether online or eventually in hybrid and offline environments. At its core, it enables us to answer one fundamental question with certainty when someone interacts with government online. Are they who they say who they are? If we cannot answer that question with confidence, digital government cannot function. But today, we can. The primary objectives of the NAF are: 1, strengthen identity management across government; 2, protect citizens' personal data and reduce identity-related threats; 3, enable seamless, secure access to digital public services; 4, provide a unified authentication infrastructure for ministries and agencies; and fifthly, lay the foundation for broader digital transformation initiatives. Through multi-factor authentication and centralized identity controls, it significantly reduces the risk of impersonation and unauthorized access. Citizens can now engage government systems with greater confidence that their data is protected. But security alone is not enough. NAF also simplifies the citizen experience. A single verified identity will enable access to multiple government services through DigiGov, whether applying for a birth certificate, renewing licenses, registering businesses, or making an online payment. No multiple credentials, no fragmented systems, no inconsistent standards. NAF protects, but it also empowers. From an operational perspective, NAF is a strategic enabler for ministries. Under the mandate of the Division of Public Sector Modernization, the Ministry of the Public Service provides shared ICT leadership and infrastructure across government. NAF is now part of that enterprise architecture. Any ministry implementing a digital initiative, whether an online portal, mobile application, controlled physical access solution, can now leverage NAF rather than develop its own identity solution. The results are clear. Standardized authentication across government, reduced duplication of ICT expenditure, a strengthened national cybersecurity posture, and greater efficiency and accountability in service delivery. This is responsible governance. Shared infrastructure reduces fragmentation, eliminates redundant investment, and improves oversight. NAF introduces institutional discipline into how we digitize. The implications extend beyond government. When fully implemented, NAF will position St. Lucia to offer authentication as a service within an appropriate legal and regulatory framework. Banks, fintech companies, and insurance providers will be able to leverage secure government-backed identity verification. This means greater trust in digital transactions, reduced fraud and compliance risk, and stronger integration between public and private sector digital ecosystems. By strengthening identity verification at the national level, we are strengthening the broader competitiveness and resilience of St. Lucia. Digital economies thrive on trust and must be anchored by the appropriate legal and regulatory environment, focusing on strong digital governance processes. We are therefore advancing reforms to modernize the Data Protection and Privacy Act, strengthen the Electronic Transactions Act, and introduce new legislation for data sharing, digital government, and digital identification. Innovation must move forward, but it must do so responsibly. For the public service, the National Authentication Framework represents institutional evolution. It reflects enterprise planning rather than isolated systems, and proactive modernization rather than incremental adjustment. We are moving from fragmentation to integration, from manual verification to digital trust, and from administrative complexity to structured efficiency. Transformation, however, requires participation. Today, I formally call on everyone in this room and those watching to register for your NAF account on the DigiGov platform. Do not leave here without doing so. If you encounter any difficulty or require assistance, dedicated NAF officers are stationed in the reception area to guide you through the process. Let us lead by example. As leaders, we must be the first adopters of the systems we champion. And because embracing our digital future should also be rewarding, 2 individuals who register for their NAF accounts today will win a tablet and a mobile phone. The draw will take place later this afternoon following the panel discussion. I therefore encourage you, register, participate, and be part of this historic moment. As Cabinet Secretary, I am proud of the coordinated effort that has brought us to this moment. This achievement reflects a public service that is disciplined, forward-looking, and committed to excellence. The foundation of digital trust has now been established. From this foundation, we will scale, we will integrate, we will innovate, and we will deliver public services worthy of the citizens we serve. Thank you, and welcome to this defining milestone in St. Lucia's modernization journey. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Digazo, for those words. And I thought when you were encouraging persons to participate, you'd also say we had secrets and there's a weekend as well. So Marlon, maybe that you sweeten the pot. So some of the things that you said resonated very clearly. NAF is going to provide security. It's going to increase productivity. There's a single sign-on for multiple government services. It is mobile and online access. And there is going to be digital trust that's going to be built into it. But the biggest part or the biggest takeaway for me is that participation. We could build the best systems, we could do all what we want, but without persons participating in the process, it is rendered useless to us. And I know that the next speaker is going to tell us more about why this is so important and how it is that his ministry is going to ensure that that participation, that involvement, that productivity is going to bear fruit. And for the opening remarks, we call on Honorable Stevenson King, Senior Minister and Minister for the Public Service, Transport, Information, and Public Utilities. Let's welcome him.
Thank you very much. It appears that the chairman has read through my written speech. And so, protocol having been established, I want to take this wonderful opportunity today to particularly recognize the members of the head table. I want to recognize Mr. Devendra Ramnarayan, who I met many years ago in Curacao at an ICT meeting. Welcome, sir. Cabinet Secretary to the Government of St. Lucia, Mr. Marlon Narcisse, all of the head table. My Permanent Secretary, Ms. Janet Barnard, and Deputy Permanent Secretary, and my former Permanent Secretary, Mrs. Suzette Jean, Deputy Permanent Secretaries, and the Minister in the Ministry of Tourism representing the Cabinet here today. You have a big job today, sir. I want to welcome you to this very important event this morning. I'm honored to address you today on behalf of the Government of St. Lucia as we officially launch our National Authentication Framework. This initiative represents a defining moment in our national development journey and a major milestone on our digital transformation agenda. Today, we are establishing a foundational pillar for the future delivery of public services and for the modernization of governance in St. Lucia. Successful modernization requires a shift in how we think and plan for the future. Only last week, we conducted a 4-day workshop on strategic foresight and systems thinking. This capacity building exercise speaks directly to this government's commitment to meet the immediate needs of our people and, most critically, to anticipate the expectations of our citizens by the year 2025 and, of course, beyond. Today's launch takes place at a particularly meaningful time in our national history, as the curtains come down on celebrations marking our 47th anniversary of independence as an independent nation, under the theme Devant Assam. We are reminded, therefore, that national progress is built through unity, shared responsibility, and sustained collaboration. The National Authentication Framework reflects this spirit, the intent to journey together. It brings together government, citizens, and the private sector through a shared digital infrastructure founded on trust, security, and accountability. Colleagues, members of the public service, and the private sector, the government of St. Lucia has articulated a clear and ambitious national vision, and that is to make St. Lucia the most technologically driven small island developing state by 2025, so that its citizens can produce valuable goods and services in an efficient and sustainable way while taking advantage of the growing benefits of the digital global space. The National Authentication Framework is central to achieving these objectives. In today's modern digital environment, the ability of a government to securely and accurately identify and authenticate individuals and businesses is fundamental. It is the basis upon which digital governance, digital commerce, and digital citizenship is built. Without trusted identity systems, digital services cannot operate reliably, securely, and at scale. I am proud to indicate that I have personally registered for my own National Authentication Framework account, except that today I won't have a chance to benefit from the draw at the end of the day. I did so not necessarily as a minister, but most essentially as a citizen who believes in leading by example. I therefore encourage every public officer, every business owner, and every citizen to do the same. Registration is the gateway to accessing the new generation of digital services that government is building for you as a people. The National Authentication Framework establishes the foundation of the government of St. Lucia's centralized identity management system. It securely and accurately verifies the identity of users whenever they interact with public services. Through this framework, citizens and businesses are able to access multiple services using a trusted and verified identity, reducing duplication, minimizing administrative burdens, and improving service quality. When fully implemented, NAF, the acronym, will deliver substantial and long-lasting benefits to both the public and private sectors. For government, it strengthens institutional coordination, improves operational efficiency, enhances accountability, and reinforces data government throughout the country. For citizens and businesses, it provides faster access to services, reduced compliance costs, and greater confidence in digital transactions. In this way, the NAF transforms DigiGov from a collection of online government services into a truly integrated digital governmental platform built on integrity, trust, and security. Importantly, NAF is also designed to function as a national authentication service that can be securely leveraged by private and public sector institutions alike. banks, credit unions, insurance companies, telecommunications providers, utilities, and other licensed service providers will be able, subject to the appropriate legal and regulatory safeguards, to utilize the national identity infrastructure to verify customers' identity. This will significantly strengthen the Know Your Customer and customer due diligence processes, reduce identity-related fraud, accelerate onboarding, improve risk management, and lower operational costs. In essence, the NAF provides a secure, trusted, and authentic resource for cross-sectorial institutions and agencies in their conduct of business. For financial institutions, it means faster account opening and more secure digital banking, and I say, no need for 3 and 4 forms of identification. For insurance providers, it means reliable policyholder verification and claims processing. For emerging digital service providers, it means access to trusted identity infrastructure without the need for costly parallel systems. In this way, NAF becomes a shared national resource for identity verification, supporting innovation while maintaining high standards of security, privacy, and regulatory compliance. This framework is essential for modern governance across government. The deployment of the NAF will facilitate a more secure and efficient practical impact across every critical sector. In public finance and private sector, it will strengthen taxpayer compliance, support business and company regulation, and secure online payments. In law enforcement and public safety, it provides officers with secure access to verified driver's licenses and vehicle registrations in real time. This ensures that the identity of persons can be accurately confirmed during traffic enforcement and investigations, reducing fraud and improving public safety. In transport and public service, it will modernize driver licensing through the deployment of the electronic testing system. By integrating the NAF with theory examinations, candidates will be securely verified, maintaining the absolute integrity and fairness of the testing process. In digital government, DigiGov, it will serve as the core authentication engine for document verification on the DigiGov mobile app, allowing citizens to securely access certificates, permits, and records anytime, anywhere, directly from their devices. In health, it will support precise patient information, the seamless integration of digital health records, and supports registration for universal health coverage. In education, it will enable the issuance of verified digital credentials and facilitate secure access to online learning platforms. And in national security and immigration, it will enhance verification systems and strengthen our borders through robust identity protocols. And trade and customs, it will facilitate secure trader identification and enable digital clearance processes, reinforcing St. Lucia's regional and international competitiveness and underpinning the intention of ease of doing business. Colleagues, the National Authentication Framework does not exist in isolation. It forms part of a broader ecosystem of our digital transformation agenda. One such initiative is our regulatory sandbox. which is designed to support innovation in areas such as financial technology, digital identity solutions, cloud computing, and digital payments. Through this sandbox, innovators, entrepreneurs, and regulated entities will be able to test new digital products and services in a controlled and supervised environment without affecting the main live stream and simultaneously ensuring compliance with national laws and standards. Together, these initiatives create an enabling environment for responsible innovation, private sector growth, and regional competitiveness. At the national level, NAF strengthens data governance, reinforces digital trust, and enhances institutional resilience. It enables secure data sharing, supports evidence-based policy making, and promotes interoperability across government systems. At the regional and international levels, it positions St. Lucia to participate more effectively in cross-border digital initiatives, regulatory cooperation, and digital trade frameworks, expanding economic opportunities and regional integration. Collectively, these outcomes demonstrate that the National Authentication Framework is a strategic national asset that underpins public sector modernization, private sector development, and sustainable national growth. As Minister responsible for the public service, I regard this framework as a cornerstone of our efforts to modernize and future-proof government operations. It equips public officers with the tools required to deliver services efficiently, transparently, and responsively in a digital era. Much too often, the public service is criticized for poor customer service and inefficiencies. Here's my appeal to all stakeholders. To my cabinet colleagues represented by the Honorable John Paul Estefan, I wish to emphasize that the success of NAF depends on our collective ownership and sustained leadership. It is a national asset that must be integrated and utilized and championed across all sectors of government and the public service at large. To the private sector and development stakeholders, your continued collaboration is essential. Together, we can build digital services that are innovative, secure, and inclusive in our attempt to build a strong and wealthy nation. To our citizens, this framework reflects our commitment to putting people first by building a government that is accessible, accountable, and responsive, and most of all, transparent in a rapidly evolving digital environment. When fully implemented, the National Authentication Framework will enable St. Lucia to leapfrog traditional development barriers. It will empower both the public and private sector to innovate with confidence, compete globally, and deliver higher value to our people, our citizens. As we move forward together, devant ensemble, let us recognize that today's launch marks the beginning of a new era of digital governance in St. Lucia. Let us commit ourselves to ensuring that this framework is implemented with integrity, discipline, and purpose. Let us ensure that it delivers tangible benefits to every ministry, every business, every household, every citizen. In closing, I commend the dedicated teams, partners, and stakeholders who have worked tirelessly to bring this initiative to fruition. The Permanent Secretary and her team, Mr. Narcis and his team, and all staff members who have worked together with our partners, the government of the Peoples of the Republic of China, Taiwan. Your professionalism and commitment reflect the very best of our public service. Let me, and today I was hoping that the former Minister of Public Service would have been here. I'm not too sure whether we invited her. But today I felt obliged to at least acknowledge and honor the former Minister of the Public Service, Dr. Virginia Poyet, for her strong leadership, her steadfastness and dedication, and unwavering commitment to this cause, the cause of public sector modernization. Today I am completing this journey, this segment of the journey, in her name, as I start the new segment of institutionalization of the National Authentication Framework for our independent nation after 47. May this National Authentication Framework serve as a catalyst for national transformation and a testament to what we can achieve when we move forward together, putting you, the people, first. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. And I mean, everything that you said is so important to what is transpiring today. And you know, last week, when was the police station in Crusoe open? Last week, was it, or 2 weeks ago? And some people recognize physical infrastructure, but they don't recognize how significant this particular step is, digital infrastructure, to create a transformation in our country. And Minister, you said certain things, and you know, it's by no coincidence that Marlon invited me here from the National Competitiveness and Productivity Council, because I see this as a productivity tool. It laces every single ministry, and the ease of doing business is going to be improved, as the Minister has highlighted. Also, it reduces fraud, faster processing. There will be no more need, as he says, for multiple forms of identification for doing business and transacting business. And most importantly, the NAF is in sync with our national independence theme, Devant Ensemble, with a clear intent to journey together. So thank you, Minister, for your address to us. And now we have a bit of entertainment for you, but we will call on the Castries Comprehensive Secondary School. And they're called the Music Hub. And Music Hub was created to give young people a space to discover their voice, their confidence, and their space in our nation's story. Through music, these students are not only learning skill and discipline, they are learning who we are as St. Lucians. The music you are about to hear paints a picture of our identity, our resilience, our culture, and our shared spirit. Please join me in welcoming Music Hub from my alma mater, CCSS. You want this one as well?
Before the world began asking us for passwords, before a screen ever blinked and said, prove yourself, before identity became something typed into boxes and checked by machines, St. Lucians already knew who they were. Not from databases, not from documents, but from echoes. From the way a drum could carry a name further than a microphone, from the way a voice could travel across a hillside and arrive already understood. Même voici, même l'esprit, même cette Lucia. We knew each other by vibration, by rhythm that moved like memory through bone and breath. Identity here was never something you logged into. It was something you stepped into. A drumbeat waiting for your heartbeat to answer, a language shaped by survival, a melody stitched into morning markets, fishing boats, and village yards. Même voici, même l'esprit, même cette Lucia. Some say a charm belongs to one person, a spell whispered into one heart, but St. Lucia carries a different kind of magic. Not something worn, something lived. It hides in laughter that refuses to stay quiet, in the swing of a story told twice, louder the second time. In music that follows home like a friend who knows your gate before you open it. And once you feel it, once it recognizes you back, there is something else to stand, but inside it. Même voici, même l'esprit, même cette Lucia. Today, this charm is not for one person, it is for everyone who has ever felt this island. Speak their name through sound. Même voici, même l'esprit, même cette Lucia.
Cham saladite ka komwe twape. Cham saladite ka komwe tuve. Cham saladite ka komwe twape. Cham saladite ka komwe tuve. Cham saladite ka komwe twape. Cham saladite ka komwe tuve. Cham saladite ka komwe twape. Cham saladite ka komwe tuve. Cham saladite ka komwe twape. Cham saladite ka komwe tuve. Cham saladite ka komwe twape. Cham saladite ka komwe tuve. Mwe ai cinema, mwe jene kodal, me koze eme, makaka dako, habite mwe, kuai kai mamai, yana twa kaila, yobama ya podi tekako. Cham saladite ka komwe twape. Cham saladite ka komwe tuve. Cham saladite ka komwe twape. Oh mama, komwe tuve. Uye, uye, uye mama, uye, 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 uye mama, uye, 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 uye mama, uye, 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 uye papa, uye. Cham sala, mwe twape. Adite ka komwe tuve. Cham Chamsala, Asenisi mwen twape. Chamsala, Asufriye mwen touve. Chamsala, Aditeka kwa mwen twape. Chamsala, Chamsala, Aditeka kwa mwen touve. Chamsala, Chamsala, Aditeka kwa mwen twape. Chamsala, Chamsala, Aditeka kwa mwen touve.
That charm pulls us deeper, past nostalgia, past memory, into something alive and breathing, because identity is not a museum piece. It grows calluses, it learns new steps, it rewrites itself every time a young voice dares to sing louder than yesterday. Our culture does not stand still long enough to gather dust. It moves from lacquer to speaker boxes, from bamboo drum to electronic bass, from elders' stories to youth rewriting the chorus. Not old versus new, just one heartbeat finding new ways to speak. Même voisin, même l'esprit, même saint Lucie. Today, we travel through that sound, not as stories of the past, but as offers of what comes next. Même voisin, même l'esprit, même saint Lucie.
Magotin la babat kabwile Zaiwa Kilitu kilisi mamele Zaiwa Achebe atet punuwe Achebe akupunuwe, achebe awe punuwe, achebe ajampunuwe. Magotin la babat kabile, kilidu kilisi mamele, achebe atet punuwe, achebe akupunuwe, achebe awe punuwe, achebe ajampunuwe. Alakadu, 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 alakadu. Alakadu, alakadu. Why, why yoko? Why toujours? Why sabamwe? Amaladi why yoko? Why toujours? Why sabamwe? Amaladi why? Ali bueno bueno. Ali bueno bueno. Ali bueno bueno. Ali bueno bueno. You have a group painkiller. Bomba mogo chinchilla. Bomba speaker with it up. I'm over style killer. You have a group painkiller. Bomba mogo chinchilla. Bomba speaker with it. Wait there. Medu. Medu wait there. Now wait there. Medu. Wait there. Not it from now. Medu. No. Make away. No. Work away. Why you call? Why toujours? Why sabamwe? Amaladi why you call? Why toujours? Why sabamwe? Amaladi why? Magotin la babat kabwile Zaiwa.
Do you hear it? Do you hear it? The past calling, the present answering, like waves refusing to forget the shoreline. Identity is not handed down once and locked away. It is a decision we make every time we sing, every time we choose rhythm over silence. Même voisin, même l'esprit, même cette l'ici.
Early Juve morning, me bunks a little thing. She come out to play. She say that she pa melody day just dawning. She already sweating, so hot man, so full of it. This guy taking she feet down my gap at 440 sharp. Somebody in the crowd say her name loud, Susan. Yeah, they go tell your mother that Susan. Yeah, they go tell your father that. And she whine, she whine, she whine, she whine, she whine, she whine. She go play them no man. She look up on the eye in the middle of the night. And she shake like it's me. She want break. Hang it, she bumper, hang it, she bumper, hang it, she bumper. Hang it, she bumper, hang it, she bumper, hang it, she bumper.
Because identity is not only celebration, it is also the moment we realize how close we came to losing ourselves. Sometimes we dance so fast, we forget who taught us the first step. But culture is patient. It waits at the edge of the music until we remember how to come home. When young voices return to their roots, they are not turning backward, they are pushing the future forward. Même voisin, même l'esprit, même cette l'ici.
From thee, oh, amen, oh, me, oh. From thee, oh, jaloux, no, me, oh. I thought I love you, Lord, no, la. I habitation, love you, Lord, no, la. From thee, oh, amen, oh, me, oh. From thee, oh, jaloux, no, me, oh. I thought I love you, Lord, no, la. I habitation, love you, Lord, no, la. From thee, oh, amen, oh, me, oh. From thee, oh, jaloux, no, me, oh. I thought I love you, Lord, no, la. I habitation, love you, Lord, no, la. Recadation, me fait, ça me fait. Me le wive, me trouve comme la pâté pesant. Me parti marcher, pour me garder côté. La moi je n'ai plus, me trouve qu'à poser un piano. From thee, oh, amen, oh, me, oh. From thee, oh, jaloux, no, me, oh. I thought I love you, Lord, no, la. I habitation, love you, Lord, no, la. From thee, oh, amen, oh, me, oh. From thee, oh, jaloux, no, me, invitation, love we will, Lord
The National Authentication Framework speaks of secure identities, trusted systems, verified access, words built from technology. But long before the algorithm learned our patterns, our music already said our names. Our songs authenticate our memory. Our rhythms verify our roots. Our voices log us into something deeper than any platform could ever design. Memoisin,
Même l'esprit,
Même
même
saint
cet
ici. These young voices are performing and remembering what cannot be erased, reclaiming what cannot be deleted, declaring what cannot be denied. Saint Lucia is a country to be recognized. Même voici, même l'esprit,
même cet ici.
It is a culture to admire. Même voici, même l'esprit, même cet ici. It is a past to celebrate. Même voici, même l'esprit,
même cet ici.
And as we step into the digital future, may we never forget the first system that knew us. Même voici, même l'esprit, même cet ici. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, Memoisin. Again, Memoisin. Give a browsing round of applause to the CCSS group. And they're called. Now, that's for a prize for the secret to stay as secrets. What are they called? You had 1 second to answer. Music Hub. If you had 1 second earlier, you would have stayed at secrets. So I'm just, So this was such a wonderful performance, and I'll be managing the group from now on. They'll be at Jazz, and Jazz at CCSS will be alive. And you realize our young people, they sang in Creole so comfortably, powerfully, dynamically. Thank you, CCSS. You made me proud. CCSS forever. I know Marlon is proud as well. So as we continue, there's something that was drawn to my attention, and they mentioned the authentication journey and the authentication platform. And the minister mentioned it, and the speaker before him, the PS mentioned it, the cabinet secretary. If you look at the logo, we talk about trust and security, and I think the logo, I hope there's a description for the logo at some point, but this is a real lovely design. It shows strength, it shows security, it shows even the olive branches, shows that you're welcoming persons. And I think if this logo is really described, I think it'll be a beautiful thing to try to get persons to understand that this journey is a journey, and we're all on the same boat. So, talking about trust, the architecture of trust is what we'll call upon Mr. Malanassis, the Director of the Division of Public Sector Modernization, to discuss with us, and he'll give us a technical briefing on the architecture of trust. Let's welcome him, please.
Thank you very much, Glenn. And good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here this morning to the launch of the National Authentication Framework. Ça t'est bon? Glenn, since you're speaking on you mentioned the logo, I just want to give kudos to Johannes Kodra. He's the designer of the logo. He used a lot of AI to help and inspire the logo, but that was his work. So I just want to bring that to our attention. Okay. So my agenda this morning is very short. I'll be focusing on the Division of Public Sector Modernization, who we are essentially, focusing on the NAF, and more specifically digital citizenship and the digital citizen. The paradigm shift, focusing on our digital maturity as a country using technology. focusing on trust because my presentation is actually on the architecture of trust as we move along this digital transformation journey. So, looking at this image, this slide, I wanted to focus on, what we're establishing here today, the digital ecosystem of trust. And throughout the presentation, I would just like you to focus on these aspects of our digital transformation journey, on trust, cybersecurity, our culture. I think we want to develop a culture of trust within the country so that our digital transformation journey can really take off in St. Lucia. So who are we at the Division of Public Sector Modernization? We were established in 2013, and we really focus on providing leadership to the government with regards to the digital transformation in St. Lucia, focusing heavily on policy, and providing that strategic leadership to the government within the technology space and within the public sector as well. And we also champion several digital transformation systems like DigiGov, which is one of our primary systems as we move along this process of digital transformation and focusing on trust as a nation. So what is our vision for NAF? It is, as I said earlier, about the digital citizen. And in the St. Lucia context, digital citizenship refers to the responsible and ethical use of technology, guided by government's policies and regulations to ensure online safety, privacy, and legal compliance. The national authentication is central to this agenda, providing a platform for identity management that empowers citizens to confidently access services and take part equitably in the digital economy. So we're focusing on the whole concept of data only once. It's your data, you're in control of it. We have to make sure that we impact that resonates with our citizens. Also the idea of e-participation. We all use social media in some way or form and participate in that social media space. So government wants to now also participate with you in that space. And we want all of our citizens to be part to contribute to the whole idea of governance within the country. And what does it do? It provides us with that underlying infrastructure where we have a unique identifier. And I'm sure many of us in the room here, especially our private sector partners, will have been eager to, and pushing over the years, many years, to focus on the unique identifier that will facilitate both online transactions, but also as well to allow them to be recognized with government anytime they're doing a transaction going forward. So what are the benefits of the NAF? NAF enhances online services. It protects our identity. It's convenient and accessible. It improves government services. It reduces the need for multiple logins, single sign-on. And with the implementation of DigiGov, one of the main things that we're going to be doing is the establishment of a DigiGov app that will allow for all the products of DigiGov to reside on that app so that we can now, in a convenient manner, continue to focus on our daily routines and not have to be bogged down trying to get verified in the different things that we do. But with the NAF, we have a three-phase approach. The first phase is what we're really launching today, which is NAF for citizens and residents. And that's the digital identity improving citizen and residents secure, trusted way to deal with the government. In a few months' time, we will be implementing NAF for the business and companies. And we've been working closely with the Registry of Companies over the last 2 years in trying to digitize their records so that we can really move into this space where all companies and businesses doing business with government can be identified using that unique identifier. And the next phase and the last phase would be essentially NAF as a service, focusing on knowing your customer. You know, government wants to be that source of truth for identity management across the board. So we no longer would have to go to the bank with 2 forms of ID to create a bank account. And all of the financial institutions, all of the private sector agencies can really utilize the government's identity management system to conduct business and to verify and validate the users. A simple use case. You go to the bank, once the NAF as a service is implemented, you could then indicate to the banker that you want to be verified by the NAF. And you'll just be able to scan a QR code using the DigiGov app, and your identity would be verified, and then the transactions can take place. Whether you're a business or a citizen, it will work essentially the same way. And going forward, in some discussions with our keynote speaker, Devendra, he did speak about, things like facial recognition, which is what they actually pursue in Trinidad at this point in time. We can then leverage those technologies. Again, once we continue to build that trust that is required for our citizens to say, okay, I can trust the government with all of these biometric markers, and there are many technological ways that we can do that without really exposing persons' information. So our national shift. So essentially, we want to move from our current environment with siloed operations, high operating costs, transition that to a trusted digital ecosystem. We want to focus on data only once, 24-hour access, reduce processing times, and have secure transactions every time we interface with the government. The DigiGov team, myself, Johanna, Denise, more specifically, we are very passionate about this. And sometimes we come across, even aggressively at times, just making sure that the system is protected and we understand the need to protect persons' data. And we've had challenges with some of our beneficiary agencies, trying to give them that mindset that they need to shift across to focusing on data protection. And this is how we're going to make this work. We have to have that paradigm shift in our thinking, in our thought processes. Again, Minister spoke earlier about the workshop that we did 2 weeks ago, actually, on changing mindsets, system thinking, and strategic foresight. And this is what we need for us to really begin that shift away from the traditional way of doing business to a more interactive, integrated approach towards public service delivery. So where are we on this journey? We've had several successes, and today is another major one in this process. We've modernized our infrastructure, so the government now has a wide area network across the entire country, connecting every school, every health center, every hospital, every human resource center, every government office is connected physically on this wide area network. We also have a Wi-Fi network for the people. It's called GINet. We're implementing our unique identifier today. And number 4, we have several activities under the Caribbean Digital Transformation Project that are ongoing as we speak. So these things here are not just plans, but they are actively in motion at this time. The CSIRT is a computer incident response team. By the end of this year, children guide me, or early next year, we will be able to establish our computer incident response team. Our data center is fully trained. We already have identified a location for the establishment of our tier-3 data center. And we've been having discussions with some of our partners at ECLAC for the establishment of a regulatory sandbox. And some of our fintech providers here would be happy to know that very, very soon, St. Lucia will have a regulatory sandbox environment to facilitate innovation and growth and development. We've also, in discussion with the UN ECLAC, will be establishing data embassies. And a data embassy essentially will function similarly to how we interpret an embassy, a St. Lucian embassy in Trinidad, for example. So our data can reside in Trinidad, but it'll be our sovereign data residing there. And so there is a modular way that we can build this type of architecture to support St. Lucia's resilience as we move ahead on this transformation journey. We also have a vigorous legal and regulatory agenda focusing on modernization of our legal and regulatory framework, data protection, electronic transactions, and I will probably even go through this a little further down in my slides. So, why trust matters? What is our digital reality? Citizens share more data than ever before. Services are increasing online on a daily basis. Cyber threats are exponential and a real danger, as the Americans say, real and present danger to our daily lives for those persons who want to live, below the line, don't engage in any fraud. But this is our digital reality. But then what happens if no trust? Adoption fails, investment slows, and innovation stalls. But we want to encourage a culture of trust in St. Lucia, in our economy, in the government, focusing, how would that help? That would help with scalability, business engagement, and citizen participation. I think citizen participation is of utmost importance moving this digital transformation, moving this digital train. And we're hoping that with the NAF, it resonates with our people that, hey, you need to register, get on there, and government will make your life much, much simpler over time in applying for government services. So we spoke earlier about the architecture of trust. What does that mean? We have modern infrastructure. We have a unique identifier, the legal and regulatory framework to support that. And we must have a culture of cybersecurity. And we have some pillars that we have to focus on as well. Infrastructure, human capacity development, and our culture. Cybersecurity, the legal and regulatory framework, as well as transformation and innovation. And it's underpinned by three or four main areas: confidentiality, integrity, availability. It's called CIA. And then I think last time I added inclusivity. I think it's important to ensure that whatever policy that we have, we must be inclusive, that we don't leave anybody behind in this digital transformation agenda that we are now on. So for each pillar, we have some guiding principles. Strategic digital investment under infrastructure. It's critical for us to prioritize ICT investment in initiatives which offer measurable business value and societal benefit that allows for scalability and supports the long-term socio-political development strategies of the government of St. Lucia. Focusing on modernizing our communication infrastructure. Again, how do we innovate? Looking at a government cloud, the data embassies, and the regulatory sandbox that I spoke of earlier. And ensuring that we have equitable access. A term that some of us may not be familiar with, it's called meaningful connectivity. Sometimes we have connectivity, but how meaningful is that connectivity, and how does it contribute to our daily lives and how we live? Pillar 2 speaks of transformation and innovation. We must be citizen-centric as a guiding principle. It must be citizen-centric. Everything we do must have our customers, our citizens and businesses at its core focus. Enhance accessibility regardless of skill and economic means, and strengthen social cohesion. And this is where the NAF comes in. It provides everybody with an opportunity to participate and contribute, and it also gives us an opportunity as well within the whole sphere of inclusion. In the bigger countries like China and India, digital financial services is very, very powerful in the sphere of inclusivity. I should also add Africa as well. And we want to as well, in St. Lucia, really embrace digital financial services to cross that line and to bring everybody into the technology sphere. And we have DigiGov, the DigiGov wallet as well. We spoke about that. DigiGov wallet would allow us to consolidate all of the DigiGov products into that wallet and make interaction seamless for everybody. Pillar 4 focuses on digital confidence and trust. Our citizens must have confidence in using and obtaining value from our national ICT assets and services with enhanced digital capabilities and trust in its usage. Again, this is an underpinning concept of the National Authentication Framework, but it also speaks to our legal and regulatory environment to support digital transformation and to support the NAF more specifically. So we've made some amendments to our Data Protection Act, to our Electronic Transactions Act, and the Computer Misuse Act. But these are very outdated legislation. We need to modernize them. And I can also say at this point that probably last week the World Bank that is, did give us a no objection for us to pursue some additional piece of legislation to support our digital transformation, focusing on AI and data protection, cybersecurity, identity management, and also the fintech space as well. And number 5, which is very, very big and must be highlighted here as well, is capacity building as an economic driver. Our national digital capability and private sector innovation must be stimulated and enhanced through strategic collaboration and partnerships with knowledge transfer and niche ICT abilities development at its core, with a strong export orientation and focus. I don't think that we think of ourselves as producers of technology, because sometimes I think there's a stat that speaks to us in the region. We take over 7 years to implement a new technology. And so there must be a shift in the mindset for us to really embrace the technology. AI is a typical example. We cannot be left behind in this field of AI. But one of the things that I can probably quickly say about AI is that we need to have proper data. And we don't have a culture of securing data and essentially storing it in a way that can be reused for other activities, other initiatives, than what we actually use it for in its core function. But back to Pillar 5. Human resource capacity development is absolutely necessary. And persons are always concerned about losing their jobs, but we focus on reskilling, retooling persons, empowering our young people through co-working spaces. And under the World Bank project, we actually have an activity right now where we're going to be building out several co-working spaces. So one of the primary ones which will be fitting within our ministry to support our young people. So the idea here is to train, provide the environment for them to be able to have specific access to the technology. So we're providing that co-working environment. And we will provide them also with the opportunity to actually innovate and to develop specific tools to help us solve the issues of our people within the public sector. We also be establishing innovation hubs as well. And one of the key things here with the implementation of digital transformation and developing that trust is the change management for user adoption. It must be specific to our users within that sphere, focusing as well on digital community skills and literacy. So, governance for sustainable digital transformation. There must be a shared vision. And I'm very happy to see all of us here this morning. The minister accepted our invitation to be present, to deliver his speech, the CAPSEC support, and Devendra and Cleveland, accepting my call to really help us champion this process, moving the NAF forward. But this for trust to be sustainable, we must focus on our people. There must be processes in place. We must harness good data governance procedures, and we must adopt a culture of trust and cybersecurity. Was it Peter Drucker, I think it was, who said that strategy eats culture for breakfast? And so we must ensure that within our change management framework that we ensure that our people understand the need, people understand the reason for what is being done, and so they can now they can trust, they can be empowered through this process as well. And finally, what is our vision for St. Lucia? Our vision is to have an environment where we have clear political support and cabinet visibility, because at the end of the day, cabinet also needs to see what's in it for them. The minister needs to see what's in it for him, and we need to also be able to articulate that very, very clearly. We envisage a whole of government approach to digital transformation. Centralized cybersecurity for more resilience, standards, improved service design, data governance at its core, Integrated procurement and financing, I think that's another area that is very lacking, and I think there needs to be a better understanding of how we procure digital tools and digital technology within the current procurement process and procedures that we have as a country. And most of all, we need to institutionalize capacity development and culture change. I think, again, we can consider capacity development for export as an economic driver for St. Lucia, where we are producers and not just creators of technology. So again, thank you very much. I just want to say that St. Lucia, we are digital by default. We want to be a connected government, focusing on data all the time, and we want to ensure that that trust is continued to be elevated and persons continue to trust the government in moving its digital transformation agenda. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Narcis. And I know, as he says, one government. I always believe, no matter which ministry you're in, it is one government. And I think Chris Tatney is here, and we always believe that from the GIS standpoint, we serve one government always. And, you know, when you're called upon, depending on which ministry calls upon you, I think if you could lend your skills, you lend your skills. And Marlon said something here, and it falls in line with what the minister said. It falls in line with our national theme for our independence. And it is devant some. And on screen, he had a national shift, transitioning to a digitally mature society. That's our journey, that transition, that journey to ensure that we can be who we want to be and carry everybody along with us. And so one of the things that he mentioned as well is that there are 3 steps in the NAF. NAF for citizens and residents, NAF for businesses, and NAF as a secure source of truth, and government as a source of truth. Whatever government puts out, we should be able to trust it. And so that's what it is that we're aiming for, that trust. And unless people trust the government and unless people trust the system, they won't buy into it. So this is what the journey is all about, to convince them that it is secure, it is safe, and it is going to transform our country. With that being said, we call upon our next presenter. We're skipping one element. We have a performer, but he's going to go after our next, our keynote speaker. And our keynote speaker is Mr. Devendra Ramnarayan. And he is going to speak on one identity, infinite possibilities, the new currency of truth. Let's welcome Mr. Devendra Ramnarayan. I see you in person.
Senior Minister Stephen King, Minister Estefan, Mr. Augusta Dagazon, Cabinet Secretary, Permanent Secretary Janet Bernard, other Permanent Secretaries, Director Marlon Narcissus, heads of departments, leaders of the public or the private sector, development partners, other dignitaries and distinguished guests, public officers, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's an honor and a privilege to address you this morning. And it is great to be in St. Lucia again. It's actually my favorite island in the Caribbean. So thanks to the organizers for inviting me to contribute to this milestone event. The focus of my address this morning is aptly captured in the published title, One Identity, Infinite Possibilities, the Currency of Trust. I'll address the power of one identity concept, and seek to explore why it opens up a whole range of possibilities in how government delivers services to the public and how citizens interact with the state, and soon how citizens will do business with the private sector. As I go along, I will emphasize the critical role that trust plays in enabling the implementation of those infinite possibilities. A quote often attributed to the legendary investor Warren Buffett is relevant here. And I quote, "Trust is like the air we breathe. When it's present, nobody really notices. When it is absent, everybody notices." And later in the address, I'll explore the role of trust and why without it, the NAF will likely face serious challenges. I will address the adjective infinite as well. See if this works. But let me start with a typical scenario of the recent past. And it's in the past, but I wanted to start with a story that I expect many in this room will know only too well. Imagine a mother in one of the distant parts of the island before, wakes up at 5 a.m., prepares the children for school and drops them off, catches the Route 2H minibus to Castries, stands in the heat outside a government building, waiting for the doors to open, wants to be in front of the line when the office does open, eventually reaching the counter only to be told that she needs a certified copy of a document which she doesn't have in hand. It's held in a different agency in another building many streets away. She leaves to get the document, time wasted, wages likely lost, frustration rising, feeling significantly disempowered and helpless, crushed by the system. In fact, in many emerging economies, it is accepted that waiting is a cultural norm. We have no choice, we tell ourselves, is what we do, we have to accept it. In reality, waiting is an economic drain. It's a tax on everyone who depends on the basic government services which are linked to life events like the birth of a child, like the death of a family member. The NAF doesn't just save time, it restores dignity. It signals the end of an era where a citizen is a subject begging for a service. I expect that the many online services introduced over the last few years, the 120 services that Marlon referred to, will have eased a lot of the frustration, but online services have their limitations. They often relate to just one agency delivering the particular service. I would suggest that the National Authentication Framework, when fully implemented, will result in a quantum improvement in service quality, in much the same way that the introduction of online services would have impacted the waiting in line culture. Today, with the launch of the NAF, as explained by the previous presenters, it's important to note that the NAF is not simply a new piece of complex software. It is that. But more importantly, and much more, the NAF is the tool that will enable St. Lucia to break away from the physical constraints of an 8-to-4 government with its silos ways of working within ministries and agencies. With the introduction of the 120 plus online services led to the death of the queue, I would suggest that the NAF will lead to the death of siloed operations and the birth and expansion of fully joined-up government. Joined-up government is the approach to public administration, as many of you will know, that seeks to break down silos between different government ministries, departments, and agencies to provide a seamless, integrated experience for citizens, businesses, residents, and visitors. In this model of public administration, instead of the citizen acting as a messenger between departments, for example, carrying a birth paper from the birth registry to the passport office, the various government departments coordinate their policies, share data behind the scene to complete this transaction electronically without human intervention. Enabled by technology, joined-up government is an invisible bridge. From the citizen's perspective, they are simply using an online service. They do not see nor need to understand the complex web of servers and software, the enabling policies, the legal agreements, the approvals from cabinet, the standards that need to be put in place to make this happen. I want to suggest, like others have, that the NAF is the national nervous system. And let me explain why I say this, as this will make it clearer as to the challenges that the NAF must address to be successful and to deliver fully on its transformational potential. In the United Nations E-Government Service 2024, St. Lucia was recognized for its high e-government development index, but the survey also sees a challenge to move beyond the silos and into integrated service delivery. The NAF is the identity layer that will connect these silos. Without it, taking the next step to fully integrated service delivery will not be easily taken, and joined-up government will remain an unfulfilled ambition. One of the core tenets of modern governance, according to the OECD Government at a Glance 2025 report, is the once only principle. It argues that an accurate government is one that only asks for your foundational information once and only once. Once that data is fully verified, it is securely shared across relevant agencies. The NAF ensures that when you verify your identity with the Ministry of Health, for example, the Ministry of Finance already knows you. The result is that there are no more carrying of papers from one ministry to the other by either public officers or by citizens. As the nervous system analogy implies, the state finally has a memory, and your digital ID is the neurotransmitter that allows the signal, which is the desired transaction, to pass from one cell to the next, that is, from one ministry to the other. In effect, joined-up government means that your digital identity acts as the key that unlocks the service delivery door in St. Lucia, eventually impacting both the public and the private sectors. When you log into DigiGov, your national portal, the system will not see you as a taxpayer in one window, a patient in the other, a motor vehicle driver in the other. It will simply see you as an individual citizen with multiple needs, which must be satisfied with the minimal of fuss and in the shortest possible time. You are simply a citizen with the right to demand and to get the service that you're entitled to from the state. The NAF will also directly impact the ease of doing business by enabling things like secure name searches, remote registration of businesses. It can provide identity as a service, as was already mentioned, allowing financial and insurance institutions, for example, to verify a customer's identity against the state's single source of truth. It will reduce the need for physical copies of utility bills to prove address information. It can improve transactions in the land registry by verifying your ID and your tax status. It will enable digital signing of contracts and filing of corporate documents like continuance documents, secure customer authentication for online high-value transactions, and it will integrate patient records across independent healthcare institutions. And think about if you make an error and you integrate two wrong records, the impact on a patient's health, you can kill them. So the digital identity is what's going to allow you to integrate things as sensitive as your medical records. The opportunities are, and should I say it, infinite. In the private sector, for example, when you log into your bank's portal, you will have the option to electronically authorize the institution to electronically get your identity and tax information, saving you a visit, saving you from having to take physical documents in many instances which the bank cannot verify or authenticate 100% of the time. You can't look at a document and know it's correct. So I searched for a local analogy which would summarize what the NAF will do for St. Lucia, and I settled on a quote from your Nobel laureate, Derek Walcott, and I quote, "Break a vase, and the love that reassembles the fragments is stronger than the love which took its symmetry for granted when it was whole." The ministries and agencies of government and the individual private sector companies in this analogy are the broken fragments of service delivery. The NAF is the love that reassembles the vase. It is the digital glue that will bring, or that has the potential to bring these fragments into an integrated whole. yet allowing the individual entities to exist independently and autonomously, and in most instances, all instances, within its legislative boundaries, the things it's allowed to do and not do. St. Lucia is moving away from an era where you were the subject of a department begging, and I use the term loosely, begging for a service, to an era where you're a digital citizen and a customer of the state. In an ideal world, the customer is king. The NAF has the potential to empower the citizen to take back control of their time and to execute critical and foundational or fundamental transactions with the state at their convenience as they see fit. And the word infinite is used in the title of address. It's not just a marketing term. It is describing the vast, unpredictable, and beautiful complexity of the human life. Every one of you in this room has a unique life journey. From the moment a child is born to the moment he or she retires from service, or even after the death, they interact with the state in an infinite number of ways. Each person does things differently at different times in their lives. The NAF is designed to handle this infinite variety through each individual's unique life event journeys. So all of this sounds good, but if it was simple to execute, every Caribbean government would have done it already. And instead today we will be chatting about integrating citizen visitors and business e-services across the OECS and perhaps across CARICOM. So what are the services that the NAS face, and can they be overcome? And this is where the issue of trust comes in. And I repeat the quote, trust is like the air we breathe. When it's present, nobody really notices. When it's absent, everyone notices. We use the air we breathe analogy to explain that trust is an invisible enabler. When it exists and plentiful, citizens and business transactions will happen seamlessly. When it's removed, the suffocation of bureaucracy, red tape, and suspicion will make even the simplest tasks impossible. So what's the trust we're speaking about, and what are the challenges? While we may not want to admit it as a citizen or business, the fact that the fact that government operates in silos gives us some comfort. We are often comfortable that sharing our information with the state is under our control. Personal information is kept personal because we have not given it to everyone. And this personal information cannot be easily shared because of the paper files and siloed connections. So we don't pay our taxes, we don't think anybody would know. If the NAF breaks down these data sharing walls, I want to ask some questions. How do I know that the state will not utilize this information in ways that I believe are not in my best interest? How do I know that the state will not track what I do on a day-to-day basis and build up a picture of me which I consider to be private? How do I know that the state will not lose my information or carelessly expose it to hackers and others? How do I know that this information will not be shared without my permission? How do I know that public officers like Marlon will not be looking at my data in the absence of a legitimate purpose? How do I know that this data will be securely disposed of when it's no longer needed? And most importantly, how do I as a citizen know that all of these things that I just asked, those expectations are being met when it's all electronic, when I have no visibility of what's going on behind the scenes and within that IT infrastructure? And the challenge is further expanded when the private sector gets involved, given their known commercial needs and the need for increased profits. Are they going to cut corners? Are they going to sell my data? Are they going to use it in ways that I don't want them to? Let us examine this dilemma. Let us examine the delicate balance between data sharing and data privacy. According to the OECD's November 2025 survey on drivers of trust, while 52% of citizens in the broader OECD trust that their government will use their personal data legitimately, only 38% of citizens in the Latin American and Caribbean region share this view. And for our region, that's closer to 1 in 2 have low or no trust in national government. While this report does not specifically include St. Lucia, it's simply indicative and for information. However, in my view, such skepticism is healthy. It keeps, sorry, something just popped up. It keeps public sector agencies sharp. And this statistic emphasizes the point that trust must be grown, and equally important, that it needed for citizens to come on board with enough and for their trust to be sustained. The report further notes that the differences in trust exist between young people and old people, between men and women, between people in rural communities, people in towns, and it is smaller in Latin America than the OECD, the developed countries of Europe. It is indeed a complex matter to unravel, and in practice, what does this mean? The Data Protection Act 2011, partially commenced in 31st of January 2023, is key to enabling such trust. Sections 32 and 43 are currently in force and enshrines the principles of fairness, transparency, security, and data accuracy. The Office of the Data Protection Commissioner has been operationalized with a focus on registration and guidance for the data controllers. So the pieces are coming together, and I expect that more sections will be brought into commencement as time goes by. However, a trust gap may exist where the legal framework exists, but the enforcement mechanisms are now evolving. What can be done to grow trust as enough policy and legislative framework evolves? What can be done to maintain the trust of the many individuals who are willing to utilize the many existing e-services? So I want to take the case of India and perhaps reflect a little bit on that experience. And I was fortunate to have visited there and spoken to quite a few of the senior people, including the minister responsible for that in India. India implements their Aadhaar solution. They created a 12-digit unique number, which is electronically tied to each registrant's 10 fingerprints, both iris scans, and demographic data. So in order to get your Aadhaar, you actually have to put on a thing and get your iris scan, and you have to sit down in a line and get your fingerprints. Because of the use of such deep biometric information, which uniquely identifies an individual, India technically did not need to rely on any of government's existing identity documentation, since taking that biometric data from a living person standing in front of them was proof of their own existence, and verifying that they're not currently registered by deduplication became sufficient for registration purposes. At that point, if you had no birth documents, affidavits from elders and officials in an individual's place of birth who was already registered and authorized to do so, it could be sufficient for you to register as a citizen or a resident of India. And that importantly triggered whatever benefits the individuals were entitled to. This solution is a very powerful technological solution for one, with a country that had millions of citizens who were unable to receive state support because they did not exist in government records. As of 2026, almost 100% of India's adult population, some 1.3 billion, have Aadhaar IDs. The direct benefit transfer system or scheme expanded, and importantly, it removed the middleman. So registered citizens, when you register for your Aadhaar number, you get a bank account automatically, now receive their welfare payments straight from the Ministry of Finance into the bank account. So it's a spin-off benefit, financial inclusion. And in fact, because it removed fraud and duplication, estimated $10 billion per year savings by removing duplicates and fraudulent entries. But they used a very intrusive mechanism from a data privacy perspective to achieve it. And here's the point I wish to make. They did this prior to enacting the necessary legislation to support such actions. Aadhaar was originally established in 2009 by an executive order, and the program's legislative evolution resulted in the Aadhaar Act in 2016. That's some 7 years later. And that provided the statutory framework for its use in government subsidies. Over the following years, its legal scope was refined by Supreme Court rulings in 2018, which upheld its constitutional validity, but restricted mandatory linking to private entities and banks and telecom providers. By the time the Aadhaar Act that was passed, about 1 billion residents were already registered. It can be argued that this approach of implementing the system prior to the legislation allowed government to build up the social and political momentum to allow the act to be passed and the creation of the Unique Identity Authority of India. I'm not suggesting that this legislative implementation order is a model that should be used in St. Lucia. To make 2 points, though, which I believe are useful to keep in mind. Firstly, when citizens derive deep and meaningful benefits from the actions of the state, they will likely cut the state some slack and give the state the time to get its house in order. India eventually created the required legislation, but in the interim, millions of citizens benefited by being brought into the social benefits net. By 2026, the program has significantly curbed corruption, deactivating over 25 million deceased IDs to prevent fraud and reduce welfare leakage by about 13%. In addition, because of the deduplication capabilities of biometrics, it prevented individuals from double and triple dipping. We know in Trinidad, for example, that's quite common. One individual, one package of entitled benefits. With your EID, with your NAF ID, you can only exist once in the system. You can't register in a particular agency A and get a benefit, or agency B and get a benefit when you're not entitled to it, or get it twice. It is my view that the policy and legislation and regulations must evolve quickly in parallel with the rollout of the NAF. And equally important, citizens and businesses must be told that the alignment will never be completely correct, but that government will make the necessary updates as the state acquires experience with the capabilities and pitfalls introduced by the NAF. In other words, you can't be claiming, if I don't get the legislation completely correct, I can't do this. You'll never keep the two in alignment. So while the data protection legislation has been rolled out, communicate and communicate again. This would help sustain trust and grow it over time. And if the utility of the platform of e-services continue to grow with the expansion of the NAF to the private sector, the support of citizens will likely expand. In essence, the greatest interagency transactions that cause citizens and businesses the greatest pain and create end-to-end e-services that do not require human interaction is the way to go. Focus on those and you'll get citizens to buy in. I want to touch on another example, which is the example of Ukraine. Their digital identity system, and used to use Ukraine because of the way that they did it and because it's in the news. It's centered around DIA, or Action, the app and portal, which was launched in 2020. This solution has evolved into a critical instrument of national survival and resilience. Its initial driver in 2019 was to make all public services available online, reducing the bureaucratic burden on citizens. Its evolution was driven by a mobile-first design philosophy, as smartphones were more accessible than computers. After 2022, the system became a digital lifeline for millions of internally displaced persons and refugees. As of 2026, the system has 22 million users. New e-services can be rolled out in less than 3 months using the back end, with business registration taking as little as 20 minutes. DIA provides a mobile consulate for the millions of Ukrainians living abroad, ensuring they remain connected to the state. It enables digital passports to have the same legal standing as physical ones, and enables biometric signatures to allow citizens who are living abroad, and a substantial amount of them would have had to leave because of the war, allows them to sign legal documents, open bank accounts, and register businesses in Ukraine without ever having to come back into the country, because they can't. Their homes don't exist. Ukraine's EID success is anchored in bold legislative and technical frameworks. The DIA legislation followed a delivery first, legislate later strategy. Rather than waiting for years for a comprehensive national law, the government launched the app as an experimental pilot project, using its success to build the political momentum needed to pass landmark permanent legislation. And this technical backbone is based on Estonia's X-Roads, which enables secure data transaction between state agencies or registries without storing data on a single central registry. Its infrastructure is cloud native, allowing the data to be moved to secure servers outside of Ukraine so that the state remains operational even during physical conflict. So by having it on the cloud, it's easy to move. The solution was built out like a tech startup within government with limited funding to build and roll out. So they basically built and roll out a minimum viable product and then scale based on user feedback and uptake. In the Ukraine's case, growth was built by utility-based incentives by providing a small grant to encourage vaccination that you could only access through the app, and providing monthly state financial support to refugees living abroad. Ukraine is now exporting the DIA as a box to countries seeking to create resilient digital infrastructure. It allows citizens who reside abroad to manage property, vote, for example. So I wanted to just touch on a little bit on the issue, and you would have seen the slide before, on the issue of trust. There are many mechanisms that can be used to sustain and build trust. And part of what Lucia would have done is build out an ecosystem, layers sitting on top of each other, and incrementally things got a lot more secure, a lot more manageable, a lot more controlled. There are many mechanisms that can be used to sustain and build trust that can be used by St. Lucia. For example, users can be given access to individual and personal data log, which contains details of every time that a government agency accesses their data, in much the same way that the modern banking apps sends you an SMS message and email messages. Every time the state does something, it mails you, it tells you it does it. Another popular mechanism is simple, unambiguous notifications to citizens. So prior to a citizen using any e-services where a digital ID is used between agencies, inform the user exactly which data items are shared to allow this service. For example, to renew your driving permit or license, we will check your ID number, confirm your address, validate your medical fitness if you're over 65, nothing else. Do you wish to proceed? Preempt the data privacy concerns proactively. And for those citizens who decline electronic delivery, maintain a physical option of coming to the office and doing it in person. But it's more time consuming, but either way, cost savings will accrue to the state. Either shorter lines in the counter, people doing it electronically. Low-cost online pulse surveys can be performed on a regular basis at a digital service journey level, and sharing the results of those surveys publicly. Right? Address any user privacy concerns immediately as a matter of priority. And perhaps annual third-party conduct of a privacy impact assessment of the NAF platform, which is shared on the public, will assist in building trust. I suggest that transparency about flaws in the long run will be more effective as a tool than suggesting to users that the NAF platform is flawless. What about the safety of your personal data from natural disasters, etc.? And it's a good thing that digital resilience is pillar of St. Lucia's strategy. So while physical files can be lost, ID cards can be lost, the NAF infrastructure is robust, decentralized, hurricane-proof citizenship. In the event of a disaster, you can continue to do business with the state and receive services because your identity is not tied to a file or a desk in a building, and it's secured by global encryption standards. What happens if someone hacks into your account? And this is where the two-factor authentication, which you're familiar with, where they need to have your mobile phone and your access codes. So not different from what the typical bank does. But security is a continuously evolving strategy, and you need to keep adding more and more layers as you go along. I want to present another business case, which is the one of Maldives. The Maldives has around 528,000 citizens. This is an island state in the Pacific with about 1,200 islands, and it's undergoing an ambitious digital transformation centered around its platform, EFAS. Like your ID, the Maldives system is designed to act as a single source of truth for its citizens across its dispersed island geography. It's designed to deal with rising sea levels. 80% of the country is less than 1 meter above sea level. So citizens' records need to remain safe, even if the physical island is flooded. And it must support if you need to move people to a bigger island or higher island. As of early 2026, approximately 80% of the population over the age of 10 has enrolled in the system. Its mobile app uses biometric verification, face matching, but I think in their system the face is stored, and multi-factor authentication to allow one-tap or password-less logins via QR codes, similar to what Marlon is alluding to. It integrates 17 government agencies, digitizing services that were previously manual and paper-based. It's now moving in this year to integrate MasterCard payments directly into the national ID, which will allow citizens to use their ID cards for government services and financial transactions. It's now modernizing its legal structure with its digital identity bill sometime in 2026. So I'll just skip ahead and shorten this a little bit. So as Stephen Covey, the author of the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, noticed, trust is the glue of life. It's the most essential ingredient in effective communication. It is the foundation principle that binds all relationships. It's hard to obtain, but easy to lose. By all accounts, St. Lucia is starting from a high trust position, but must work hard at retaining and growing citizen trust and business trust. And I would like to address the public officer directly. It is not unreasonable or even surprising that you may silently harbor a deep fear that automation in general, and enough specifically with its ability to create joined-up government, will inevitably lead to job losses, and in particular, your job. You may be even vocal about such fears. And when you throw in AI in the mix, as it inevitably will, and Marlon would have alluded that that's going to be added, this fear can grow out of control. You may feel the need to offer passive resistance to NAF's implementation. Just don't support it, but pretend that you do. I believe that such resistance will be equally effective at reducing the benefits of the NAF, as will the loss of citizen trust. So it's not a desired outcome. So let's examine what the NAF will actually do for you, the public officer. It will remove the mundane aspects of your job and your daily work activities. It will reduce the tedious paperwork. It will break the data silos between units, department, agencies, and ministries. It will result in less paper files, cleaner desks, better physical work environments. But most importantly, it will free up your time and give you the space to focus on the interpersonal and emotional intelligence aspect of your job. That is, treating the citizen who may be in distress or in a hurry and who is standing in front of you with the sensitivity that is appropriate to their particular need at that point in time. That stressed out mother from Vieux-Fort that I mentioned at the start, who you sat to send on a chase to get a certified copy of a document to go somewhere else, sent to join another line, creating work for another public officer, lengthening another queue. You not even have to get up to make copies of documents or trying to validate date of birth, address information. You will electronically offload personal responsibility for document validation to the NAF, not dissimilar to what a bank does when it takes a machine to check the cash. You don't have to look at it and see it's a fake counterfeit bill. Because I will say to you, in a lot of instances, if you get a birth paper, I'm not sure what exactly you're checking if you look at a physical document to validate it's not a very, very good copy. We know that NAF will shorten queues, ease the stress of front office service delivery, leading to a calmer work environment. It will allow you to meet unmet service demand, reducing the processing time for complex transactions. You, the public officer, can focus on quality of service. And in small island states like ours, this means treating each and every citizen like a family member. Customer satisfaction should improve dramatically. So I say to the public officer, the NAF is a tool, it's your partner. It can free you to focus on solving human problems, but your active support is necessary for the success of the NAF. It's not only the citizen must trust the system, the public officer must trust it. To the entrepreneur and the business community in the room, the NAF can become an engine to automate and reduce the cost of performing your KYC and anti-money laundering requirements. I had looked at some years how much it costs to put somebody into the system in Hong Kong and Singapore, and it was on just under 200 US. I recently added my son in my bank accounts in Trinidad, and in one bank, each account took 2 hours. After the second, they told me go home and come back the next day. 3 accounts, 6 hours, which I had to do after 4. And that's the amount of my time I had to sit there and waste 4 hours. So the NAF will simplify and enable your interactions with government, make applying for permits, making payments, etc. easier. You'll eventually be able to connect directly and handshake with many government agencies. I had spoken recently to an insurance company where people register themselves twice with different IDs for the same illness, get benefits from 2 companies and create massive amounts of fraud. Companies that want to offer online insurances so that you don't have to turn up in person, like you see advertised in the US, you're able to do that because of things like the EID. To the citizen, the NAF can empower you, own your digital identity, check your transactions, and make suggestions on how to improve service delivery, not to reduce it. It's your gateway to citizen empowerment. Stay vigilant and engage. The NAF is reassembling the broken fragments of your state into something whole. And I would make some predictions, and this is my final slide. St. Lucia will, in 2030, because of today's launch of the NAF, become a regional leader and perhaps a top 50 global ranking in the Business Ready Index. As new functionalities added to the mobile app, perhaps facial biometric hashes supported by AI, St. Lucia will be recognized as the Caribbean leader for citizen empowerment, whereby power is given back to the citizen to take and consume e-services on their time, and in a form of their choosing. And St. Lucia will be publicly recognized among small island states as an exemplar and leader in citizen engagement and how to build and sustain trust, which is a mandatory requirement for success. To everyone who's listening, with the launch of the NAF, the new currency of trust is now in your hands. One identity, infinite possibilities. Thank you for listening.
Oh, I see my director has walked into the room. No, I saw you. So let's give a round of applause to our presenter. I said earlier that, physical infrastructure, you could see it's before you, but you can't really see this. It's invisible, but it is a piece of infrastructure. And yesterday I was invited to to just to be part of the consultations that are going on. And I know some of you in the room have been. And it is to develop a national development plan for 2026 to 2040. And the NAF is right along here in terms of why we need to all be in sync. And he said some things that are so important, because earlier today I was trying my best to be here for 8 o'clock, and I had to navigate and wait 40 minutes in traffic. 40 minutes. That's longer than leaving my home, and probably getting to past Dennery? Way past Dennery, right? So waiting is a national drain. One of the first things that you said, and it's true, it is a drain. The NAF will lead to the death of silos, and I know public officers, we've been saying this for a while, we need to kill those silos, embrace the whole of government approach, but we have not accomplished this as yet. The NAF is a national nervous system, and that's what it aims to be, with the digital ID being the neural link, the neural connector. The NAF is an invisible bridge. Infrastructure again, but yet invisible. And the one principle of the one login approach to the NAF, but the trust is what is so important in the NAF. And the trust, as you said, is an invisible enabler. Nothing in the NAF will operate without trust. And we're going to hear more about this even in the panel discussions, but trust rides right through the NAF. But it was a long presentation, and I know that he had a lot to offload on you. And I see some of my students at the back wanting to hear from Ezra, the fun machine, who will wake us up and shake us up. And so now I invite Ezra, the fun machine, to the front, who will now give us a wake us up for the next presentation. Round of applause for him, please.
Yes. Good morning, folks. Usually, the fun machine goes on after. Actually, first of all, let me acknowledge the protocol already established. Usually, the fun machine goes on after 4:30 because I'm at work right now, as you can see. But I'm going to break that code just for you guys. I just want to say I'm happy to be here. I'm just going to sing one song for you all. So, if you all don't mind me just ruffling up the feathers a bit, all right? So, Mr. DJ, if you don't mind, please and thanks. Yes? Let's make it happen. How are you all doing? All good? All is well? Yes, pick up my presenters, of course. Yes? How are you doing, sir? All right. If you know this one, you feel free to sing along, okay? For the carnival, for the festival. Yeah, I know my voice is big. Yeah, don't freak out. Listen. Because beautiful is what you are. In your costume, and beautiful is how you make me feel. You know that song? You know it's yes, sir. That is it. And beautiful is what we have to call you. Hey, and when we step out on the road, we go get mad on the road. Cause it's two are we together is an explosion. We jumping on the road with plenty emotion. You ready? Alright, so jump up with your friend and jump up with your crew. You can jump up anyhow you want, I jump in with you. Just take out something and fling it. Take out something and fling it up. When you go and roll it. When you go and roll it up. And make it beautiful. Make it beautiful. Cause it's a beautiful life. Put your hand up in the air. Put your hand up in the air. And when you put it up and make it beautiful. Make it beautiful. Cause it's a beautiful life. And there's a bad girl in the ring. Jump up and do your thing, excitement. She have excitement. Hey, pushing that bumper band. Make him and then wind on that excitement. She have excitement. Ha! Hey, all in the streets, one and every girl we meet excitement. Listen, there's plenty woman on the road. So let we get mad on the road. Cause the two are we together is an explosion. We jumping on the road with plenty emotion. You ready at the back there again? You ready? Take up with your friend. Jump up with your crew. 1, 2. Let me see hands in the air right now. Yes, take out something and dance. I like you, it's y'all, I like you. And then wind up your waist and roll it. Wind up your waist and roll it up. And make it beautiful. Make it beautiful. Cause it's a beautiful. Everybody hand up in the air. Just put your hand up in the air. How about you put it up and make that right? You see, I love that. You see, I love that. Everybody in it. I love that. I like this you. And I did with you on the road, with you by the truck, with you jumping up, with you waving up, with you making it beautiful. Anybody jumping Carnival 2026 is here, Lucia? Got the two of we together is an explosion. We jumping on the road with plenty emotion. You ready? On the corner three, I want to see everybody put their hands in the air, right? Everybody, let's go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Now take out something and fling it. Take out something and that is it. When the boys hand roll it, when the boys hand roll it up and make it beautiful. Make it beautiful. Cause it's a beautiful. Everybody hand up in the air. Put your hand up in the air. I want you to put it up and make it beautiful. Make it beautiful. If you're having a beautiful time here this morning, let me see put your hands in here right now. If you believe your life is beautiful, put your hands in here right now. My name is Ezra the Fun Machine. Thank you for having me very much. And enjoy the rest. Oh wow, I gotta run over close. Wow. Thank you very much. I love you all.
Yes, it's a beautiful life. So, you know, we said the participation in this NAF is what is important. I realize Ezra got everybody to participate. Ezra, you were not there earlier, but participation is the core of the NAF, and you got them to raise their hand. I was hoping you say, whine a little, whine a little, but you didn't say that. So, you know, we've been speaking about the NAF, but what exactly is it? How does it work? How do you sign on? How does it operate? So, I'm going to call on for a demonstration of the NAF process, Mr. Jonathan Kodra, the ICT Project Manager, Division of Public Sector Modernization. He's okay, so he's going to do this thing at the back. Are we going to hear you? Okay, we're going to hear him. So he's going to be the voice of God at the back.
Ready? Yeah. Good morning, everybody. Let me just say thanks for everybody taking time to join us today. Let me acknowledge all protocol established. This morning, I'll do a short demo, about 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes for your registration on NAF registration for this month. So basically, for everybody who's experienced with NAF, with DigiGov, it's practically the same. You just go to the DigiGov portal, digigov.govt.lc, and you click sign up. Right? Forgive me, we're a little slow. Once you select sign up, you take into the sign up page and you're faced with some information, basic content to inform you of the process and so on. You have 3 options here: registration as a citizen, registration as a resident or non-national, and a temporary registration. Temporary registration is basically you need a service now. So you can use the temporary registration, however, you must upgrade your account within, I think, 3 months. Within 3 months. Today we're going to use the citizen registration. So you click register. All right. 1 second. Right. Once you click citizen registration, it gives you some instructions on how to register for National Authentication Framework. It takes approximately 5 to 10 minutes, the time you expected, and the processing time for the application. It's 24 working hours, and the reason for this is that the data you enter will be validated against other systems. You will have a team of persons who review that data, verify it is consistent with the key databases, especially the electoral database, before it's approved. So we'll do a complete registration from a new DigiGov user. When registering, there are a few things you can expect. Once you complete the form, to validate your information, contact, and so on, an OTP will be sent to you via SMS and email, right? And then you would submit your application form. You'll complete your submission. So I will use, sorry, 996. The information here is purely fictitious, so you're not going to see anybody's data. This is our test site. So you would enter your NIC number and your birth date, 1990. Right. And that information will be validated against the electoral database. And once it is validated, it will pull some basic info into your application form. That info cannot be changed because it comes from a verified source, which is the electoral department. So if that information is incorrect, you will need to first go to the electoral to rectify that information. Right. So it's pulled your name as found in the electoral database, your nationality, your NIC, your gender, and so on. Date of birth. Right? So you can now enter. You now enter your place of birth. Your citizenship by birth, naturalization, investment. Occupation. Select. Right. Civil status, married, widowed, divorce, etc. Your contact number. So what is necessary for registering for NAF? You need a working mobile number and a unique email address. Alright. Okay, take the second time. Right. Then you select your notification mode. I use both email and SMS because you will be getting some information, your NAF certificate and so on via email as well. Right. Your permanent address. Note that anything with an asterisk is mandatory. If you're an overseas citizen, no. Your communication address, same as above. I can click yes, or I can enter a separate mailing address. Family details, again, all this is to ensure that we can validate your information. Right? Right. Your NIC details, again, as pulled from electoral, your electoral ID. Any bit of information that is populated in the identity card details tab, you must provide supporting documents. If you have a driver's license, the system will automatically pull that information that is referenced to your NIC into the application form. You can enter your passport number, but you would definitely have to submit a copy of your passport again for verification and validation. Right? If you input your ID, your tax information, again, you would have to input those details. Right? So I could just PPT 123456, patient date, oh, sorry. Right, next. You can enter any comments you want there. It could be whatever maybe something specific to your application, or you could leave it blank. It is not a mandatory field. Click next, and then you now need to upload the required documents. A passport size photo. And it's not a photo of a photo. We'd recommend using the same type of photo you would take for your visa application or your passport. So taking a photo of yourself smiling and fancy hand signals would not be acceptable. Your identity card, back and front. Copy of passport bio page. Because I did enter that information. If I did not enter that information, it would not be a mandatory field. Right? If there are any other supporting documents that you need to enter, you need to share, you can add it here. You could add up to 5 documents here. You select next. Then you have your user consent. So we will be validating against other systems, other data sets. So you would need to consent to take the next, to proceed with your application. This gives us the ability to validate and share that data, well, verify that data across other systems. So once I agree, I read through it carefully, and then I agree. I check I agree here, and then I select next. And then I'm faced with a summary page. This again is an opportunity for you to validate the information that you entered before your final submission. So you would review line by line. All right. And once you are satisfied, you submit. At this point, the system then sends me a one-time password. All right, I could get it here. All right. It is so. Right. At every stage, the system also sends me notifications. So here is the one-time password. Copy. Paste. I have 5 minutes to enter that one-time password. If it expires, I can resend it. I select Verify OTP. Right. At this time, your application is submitted. And so an officer now will take the next steps in verifying that application. You're also given some summary information. Again, at every point, we try to inform you, the user, as to the next steps, what to expect, and so on. Once you completed, select OK, and it takes you back to your home screen page, and within 24 working hours, you would get a notification. I've gone ahead and done an application earlier, so we can see what happens. So these are all the messages I got. But once your application is approved, you get 2 notifications, right? So you get the first one with your username and password. Once your NAF account or your NAF has been approved, you can now log in using your email address, the email address that you signed on with, or the NAF ID, which is a 16-digit number. We know that persons will not remember that number, so you just use your email address and a system-generated password. Once you get this, you will be able to log in, and there are a few steps that you must take. So you must change your password and set your security question. So we will do that in a bit. Back to inbox. You will also get a second email with a NAF certificate. And this is just for your records. Sorry. Just trying to download it. Doesn't look like he wants me to download it. It's taking a bit to open, so in the meantime, whilst we do that, we'll go back to DigiGov and log in. The UAT. So we are using the test site, so I would go now log in. See if it's open. It's taking some time, yes. Right. So this is a sample certificate. It has your NAF ID, your photo, a secure QR code. This QR code is secure. It cannot be copied, and the data in there cannot be altered. Basic information, first name, gender, and so on. It's not a form of ID, but it is a document for your records. All right. Once you've completed, so now we're going to sign in, and I'll just copy and paste the information. So we're going to use our email address that we signed up with. And this is why it has to be a unique and valid email address and a system-generated password. Yes, bear with me, please. So whilst we wait for it to process and log us in, no internet. 1 second. I think we're having some connectivity issues here, but once you log in, the first step would be to change your password. You will be required to put in a unique password. It is 8 characters, and it must have at least 1 capital, 1 symbol, and 1 uppercase letter. And then once you've done this, you will be required to set 5 security questions. This will help. This basically is to assist with resetting your password and some other activities on the platform. And bear in mind that once you set those security questions, once you're logged in, I think internet is having a little issue here. Once you're logged in, you must, and you set your security questions, the same way you enter the questions, the answers, is the same way you must enter them if you're going to reset your password and so on. So I'm going to try this again. Let's try this again. Right. So now I'm going to update my password. Simsy. One minute. Right. So logged in, we're going to set our security questions. We could select Any 5, we have 25 questions here, so you select any 5 that you're comfortable with. Select the first 5. Select. And these questions must be memorable to you. The answers would be unique to you. So once you've done that, you submit, and the next step, it will take you back into the platform to complete any other service that you would want to complete on the platform. Once you're logged in and you've completed, you can change your security questions later down the road. You can update your password. You can update certain parts of your profile. Once you've completed the process, your application has been approved and you're logged in. Okay. So I think we experienced some network issues here. But this is the basic login process, registration process, sorry. And it's quite simple, 5-10 minutes max in doing the application, and once you're approved, it's seamless from there. As we progress, we will be incorporating in the coming weeks your 2-factor authentication, so expect that once you try to log into DigiGov in the next couple of weeks. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Mr. Kodra. So with the medium-term development strategy, strong internet penetration is a must. So people may feel frustrated if they're going through this and they don't have good internet speed. So I know that's something that we're working on. I know that's also on Marlon's door as well, to make sure that we have that penetration for internet speed and internet access. So even though this process appeared long, it's once you do it, just once for the lifetime of you being on that platform, just once. Never have to walk with two bits of ID and all the security features that go with it and all the innovation that goes along with it. So thank you so much. So to give the official vote of thanks, because a lot of work has gone not only into this presentation, but also the creation of what you cannot see, that bit of infrastructure that has been presented to us. Let us call on Ms. Denise Joseph, the Records and Information Management Specialist, the Division of Public Sector Modernization. Let's welcome her, please.
Thank you, Glenn. Oops, I'm a bit short. Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Glenn. Okay. Allow me to adopt the protocols so aptly established earlier by our Master of Ceremonies, Mr. Glenn Simon. As we bring this morning's formal proceedings to a close, we do so with a genuine sense of pride and accomplishment. Today marks more than the launch of a system. It marks the strengthening of trust in how we serve, how we protect, and how we empower our citizens in an increasingly digital world. Initiatives of this scale and significance do not happen by accident. They are the product of clear vision, disciplined execution, strong collaboration, and decisive leadership. I wish to extend sincere appreciation to our Honorable Minister, Stephenson King, and the Cabinet of Ministers for your strategic foresight and steadfast support. Meaningful reform demands conviction, clarity of purpose, and sustained commitment at the highest level. Your leadership has created that enabling environment for this transformation to take root and thrive. To my fellow permanent secretaries and heads of department, thank you for embracing a whole-of-government approach to modernization. The National Authentication Framework is not the initiative of a single ministry or agency. It is a national digital infrastructure. Your partnership reflects a shared commitment to the integrated, citizen-centric public service delivery. To the Department of Public Service, to the staff of the Division of the Public Sector Modernization, to our Service Bureau agents, our support staff at 311, our technical team, our development partners, our NAF officers, and to Mr. Glenn Simon. Your work has translated policy into secure, functional infrastructure. Through your expertise and diligence, strategy has become reality. You have built a framework that strengthens identity assurance, embraces security, and positions St. Lucia to participate confidently in the global digital economy. I wish to also recognize our DigiGov partners, the Civil Status Registry, the Registry of Companies and Intellectual Property, the Electoral Department, the National Insurance Corporation, the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, specifically the Traffic Department, and the Department of Transport. Your collaboration demonstrates the power of coordinated service delivery. By working together, we are shaping a seamless and secure digital ecosystem that improves efficiency and enhances the citizens' experience. To our private partner stakeholders, your presence signals confidence in St. Lucia's digital direction. Strong public-private collaboration will be critical as we expand digital services, foster innovation, and unlock new economic opportunities. To our media partners, Choice TV, NTN, and the other media outlets, thank you for helping to inform and educate the public about this milestone. Transparency builds trust, and trust drives adoption. For everyone here in this room and online, thank you for attending this ceremony. I would like to echo the words of the Minister and the Cabinet Secretary at this point to say that transformation does not conclude with a launch. Transformation requires participation. I therefore encourage everyone here and those joining us virtually to register for your NAF account on the DigiGov platform today. Like the Minister said, lead by example. Demonstrate your commitment to digital trust. Our dedicated NAF officers remain available on site to provide guidance and support throughout the registration process. I also invite you to remain with us after lunch for what promises to be an engaging and thought-provoking panel discussion on data sovereignty and the future of the digital citizens. A digital identity, national data governance, and citizen empowerment increasingly intersect. This conversation is not only relevant, it is essential. And of course, just a gentle reminder, 2 fortunate individuals who register today will receive 2 prizes, well, 1 prize each, a tablet and a mobile phone. The draw will take place later this afternoon, so I encourage you to seize the opportunity to be part of this historic step forward and perhaps live with more than just inspiration. So today, we have demonstrated that St. Lucia is not passively awaiting the future. We are shaping it, and we're doing that together. The National Authentication Framework establishes the foundation of that digital trust. From this foundation, we will continue to integrate services, strengthen our cybersecurity, and deliver public administration and services that is efficient, effective, secure, responsive, and truly citizen-centered. Thank you for your presence, thank you for your partnership, and thank you for your commitment to building a modern, resilient, and digitally empowered St. Lucia. And I do want to recognize again the Music Hub, the choir, the Castries Comprehensive School Choir. Thank you so very much for being with us. So do enjoy the remainder of the program, and after lunch, please return. We do have a panel discussion. Thank you.
You know, I was about to say before you came on that I trust that you will feed us. So she has already said it more than once. So I guess you'll be guided after this as to where to go. So it leaves me now to thank all of you for being present. You've been a wonderful audience. This has not been a simple, visible activity. As I said, we have to trust that the infrastructure is there to back it up and all the work that has gone into it. So see you on the other side after lunch. Thank you very much. This has been the official launch of the National Authentication Framework. Thanks again.